minutes to get some people to watch. I don't know how long that's going to take, but you got your 2 lists, right, Kirk?
Yes, I do. Are we going to go like 5-5-4-4?
Yep, 5.
Or are we going to do
5-4? Yep, all the way. Yep.
No, but are we going to do like? Are we going to do like 5th best, 5th worst, or are we going to do all worst, all best?
Oh, we're going to do all best first. Best first, then we're going to go to worst afterwards. Yep.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I think we should do worst first, just so we like end on a more positive note. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right.
Fair enough.
All right. Yeah. We'll do worst first. I was going to do best because I thought the worst would have been the funniest. We could all rant about how bad these fathers are.
Yeah. Mine is more a little really bum.
Nobody's watching. Well, we'll give it a few more minutes to see if we get some people to watch. But if they don't watch, whatever, hell with it. We'll just start. Yeah. All right.
I'm trying to round up some people, see who's available.
Yeah. I mean, I don't do live videos like Malcolm like 5 times a day. So I don't know. I just figured this one would be a fun one. We can get people to laugh and comment.
Sure.
But whatever.
Do you know to put up live comments just in case to get them shoutouts?
No, I do not know how to do that stuff, Jonathan.
You should just be able to click on. You should be able to just click on live comments, and it'll be there.
Because I have the private chat. Where's live comments at? How do I do that?
On your dashboard, it should be further down. Like there should be a thing that says live comments. Since you're running it.
It says stop cam, mute, share screen, invite, leave studio.
Look over on the side. Look on the side.
It says comments. Is that it? Comments? Right here? Comments?
I think so, yeah.
Viewer comments show up on the StreamYard. This is an example. Click on the comment to show it on screen. All right. I see what you're saying. So if somebody comments, I could be able to see it over here on the right in this chat thing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'll try. Yeah, if I have any comments, I'll see if I can do that. I've never done that before. I don't even do banners. I know some people do banners and stuff, and I don't know how to do banners. I'm kind of a bare bones kind of when it comes to this stuff.
It usually takes a while to work it out, though.
Yeah. Some people like Tony and Malcolm are like freaking pros at this. But all right, let's. It's been a few minutes. Let's kind of give it. If anybody's watching, they'll watch. I mean, we're not gonna sit here all day waiting for people to watch. So everybody, my name is Dan Skipallen. This is the Top 5 Weekly. This is a special live edition of the Top 5 Weekly. Kind of impromptu. This idea came to me a couple days ago, and I rounded up a couple of guys at the top. Not one father. We got actual father here, which was good. I wanted some fathers, and that's Kirk the Consigliere Kelikowski. How you doing, Kirk?
I'm all right, Dad. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. I got about 4 hours sleep after I got off of work this morning. So I'm raring to go here, and I'm pretty excited. I thought that what the hell, this best fathers, worst fathers. This is gonna be fun. We'll see what kind of crossover, what kind of, if we're all on the same page as far as the people that we're thinking of. So I thought this would be kind of a fun thing, get some interesting banter going back and forth and whatever, maybe get some comments in the chat or whatever. And another returning guest, both Kirk was a returning guest and Jonathan is a returning guest. Also, Jonathan's not a father, but he's a son, so he can still relate to fathers. So, Jonathan, how you doing?
I hope someday I could be a father right here. I get teach him right proud from it. So, future father, I hope. Yeah. And very good. It's good to be back right here. I had fun the first time I was here talking about spy films. Now we'll just talk about best and worst of dads, which I have a very interesting thought process how I'm going to approach it. So even some of the very surprise some people, the more I explain to them, I explain reason why. All right.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's got a different definition of worst or best, so it's going to be interesting to see some of these fathers might pop up on both lists, no. So that's going to be an interesting little deal there because it all depends what perspective we have for the idea of best and worst. I mean, you might think of someone as the best, and Kirk might think of someone as the worst. So we don't know, or I might have someone as the worst or the best or whatever. So we don't know the criteria for best and worst. It's all our personal opinions. Mm-hmm. So let's get going here. Jonathan, what is your number five worst dad or worst father? Let's get this baby going, buddy.
Okay, my number 5 is the only father that I picked is from a bad movie, and the father it's from an animated film, and I picked the dad from Chicken Little.
Oh wow, Kirk, do you have that dad on your list?
I do not. It's a good pick, but I don't have it.
No, I do not either. Discuss away, Jonathan.
From a movie that, well, I've watched it a bit older, you realize it's not a good movie, but the more I think about one of the worst dads that you can think of, this guy is apparently one of the first thing I came up with, because not only he doesn't support his son, the sky is falling incident along with it, he doesn't even support him on even things right here. Even try to work out for baseball right here. And the worst thing about it is he's a borderline dick, like really a dick, because it's just like, hey, so what are you doing right here? I was like, Dad, I'm trying to do it. Even fans are booing him right here during the baseball game. He just shrugs around so of shame along with it. He doesn't want to say, come on, son, you can do it. You can do it. He doesn't done any of that. Even his son tried to be along with it. Even his son tried to be like you right here. No, it should have been the father to realize I was wrong right here. It's wrong for me to do that. That's the reason he's really a terrible dad along with it. That's the reason it's my number 5. And 4 of them is kind of surprisingly worse than it.
Wow. See, I remember Chicken Little, but I just don't remember the dad all that much. Obviously, Kirk is laughing over there. So, Kirk, you got some comments on this?
Absolutely, yeah. This is a kid. This is like perfect for my kids, like the age they were. They watch this movie a lot, so I saw it a lot. And yeah, he is a pretty bad dad. I mean, he's a bad dad in the sense like he's not bad, like he's not abusive. He's he takes care of his kids, but he's one of those dads that just doesn't really know how to be a dad in the relational sense. Where like Jonathan's saying, like, he doesn't know how to support his son. He doesn't know how to, promote him, how to build him up. It just makes all the hard things his son goes through. He makes it so much worse. And if I remember right, I think he kind of has a little bit of an arc, and he kind of learns his lesson at the end. But still, like through most of the movie, he is pretty bad.
Yes. Okay, cool. Now it's time for Kirk's number 5. Kirk, what is your 5 worst dad, father, whatever you want to call it, grandfather? Grandfathers are fathers.
Well, my list. What I did for my worst dad list, my best dad list, I kind of held it to like real world criteria, like who would be the best dads in the real world. For the worst dads, I kind of kept it a little bit light, just because I don't want to, I just want to kind of have fun with it. So, if you're thinking like, oh, there's so much worse dads that have done so many worse things in movies, I know that, but like I kind of just went like a little more creative with it. So I think that's might be what you guys did too. But I just want to preface that just so nobody's offended by stuff I overlooked. But my number 5 worst dad is Bill from Kill Bill. I can't think anything worse.
Hold on there, Kirk. Jonathan, do you have Kill Bill on your list? Or Bill from Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2 on your list?
No, I did not think about him.
I have him in my honorable mentions, Kirk, but he is not on my list. Go ahead.
Okay. Can't think of much worse you could do as a dad than shooting your mom when you're still in the womb. Spoiler alert: the daughter does survive, but he didn't know that. He didn't know that was going to happen. He kind of lucked out there. He's just a very selfish, violent person where, his need for revenge couldn't even outweigh, the survival of his child. And he needed to kill Beatrice so badly that he was willing to sacrifice his child for that. And then, the fact that she survived, and, he that kind of could have given him a second chance. He could have, tried to make it right somehow. But he continued to lie to his daughter, tried to, exterminate the mother before she found out, because he knew that would cause problems for the life he'd created. So yeah, just all around very horrible person, very horrible dad.
Yeah, I'm gonna comment on this first, Jonathan. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I absolutely love the Kill Bill movies. There's so much of these movies that is so good. But you're absolutely right. Bill is like easily one of the worst dads in the face of the planet. You kill the wife of your child just because you don't like her or whatever, and then you're gonna try to raise the child as your own. And of course, she doesn't die, and she comes for revenge. But yeah, I mean, David Carradine, never seen him in a role like this before, ever. Yeah. He's always the good guy or whatever. And he plays such a nasty guy. And yeah, I definitely would not want him as my dad. That is for sure. Jonathan, you got any thoughts on Bill from Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2?
Honestly, it's not the person I didn't think of while I was making my worst dads list. But the more I think about it, I was like, yeah, that's a very shitty piece of crap right here. Just really horrible person. Maybe if I could have gonna reevaluate my list, I could have put it on my list. So that's actually a great pick, Kirk. I apologize about that.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good. I had it in my honorable mentions. My honorable mentions on both lists are like ridiculous. I mean, you can't. It's so hard to narrow it down to 5. You know. All right, my number 5, and like I said, if one of you guys have this on your list, just say stop or hold on or whatever. This is a film that really resonates with me a lot because of the main character, who is a father who's just an absolutely terrible person and a terrible father. And that is Jake LaMotta from Raging Bull. Does anybody have Jake LaMotta from Raging Bull on their list?
He was on my short list. He didn't make my 5.
Yeah. Jonathan, no?
No.
Yeah, well, Jake LaMotta is a boxer, but he's also a father. He has kids. And we see him, one of the first scenes in the movie is he's sitting there eating, and he's waiting for his wife to make him dinner, and he yells at her about burning the steak. Bring it over. You're going to burn this. Then he goes absolutely ballistic, crazy, a complete, like this argument and whatnot. And then one of the worst things you could do is, like, he's got a wife and some kids, and he cheats on her, and he gets with another girl who's not even old enough. She's not even an adult. She's 16 years old by the pool. Vicky by the pool. Vicky, and then he's carousing. He treats his wives bad. I mean, even when he gets married to Vicky, yeah, he's nice to her at first, but then he treats her really bad later on in the movie. And this Jake LaMotta, not only is he a bad person, he beats up his brother. He has his fight where he just absolutely goes after his brother because he thinks his brother's cheating on his wife with him and stuff later on in the film. This guy is such a despicable guy. I mean, he's a womanizer. He's a abuser. He's not good to his children. So I had Jake LaMotta. Jonathan, have you ever seen Raging Bull?
I have, actually. And
okay, that's good.
And I will say this, I will probably agree with that. This is kind of like with Bill. I didn't think about that. And when I think about it, I was like, yeah, pretty disgusting person. And I honestly got nothing to say more about that, which I agree with.
Yeah, no, I understand. Kirk, you got any thoughts on Jake LaMotta in Raging Bull?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, he crossed my mind as a possible choice. The only reason he didn't make my list, I think, is because the movie focuses so much on the relationship with his wives, and not so much on the children. That I thought of him more of as a bad husband than a bad father. But I mean, you're absolutely right. Everything he abandoned his wife, he abandoned his entire family. So, yeah, it's all part and parcel. So yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good pick.
So that was my number 5. We're going to go back to Jonathan with Jonathan's number 4.
My number 4, the worst dad, is basically person not only that he murders, he kills, basically take over the entire galaxy, is Darth Vader.
Oh, hold on there.
Okay.
We're gonna go. We'll get to Darth Vader eventually. Kirk, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is what I think I might throw up, or might show up on another list. My number 4 is Thanos.
Thanos. I do not have Thanos, but Jonathan, do you have Thanos?
It's my number 7 on my honorable mentions.
Oh, okay. So yeah, Thanos is in my honorable mentions as well, Kirk. So wax poetic about old Thanos here. What a great dad he is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I didn't really plan it this way, but I'm looking at my list, and I think a common theme I think pretty much my entire list of bad dads is just selfishness and self-centeredness, and I think Thanos totally embodies that. You know, he has 2 daughters. You know, one adopted, one. I mean, I don't even know if we ever really find out where Nebula comes from, but you know, basically he uses them to his own means. You know, he trains them to be soldiers in his army. Just miserable, horrible lives they have growing up, just becoming the soldiers and the warriors that he needs them to be for his purposes. You know, doesn't show them love. You know, in his mind, he tries to reason that, yeah, he's doing it for them and he's making them what they need to be strong. But he just, you know, he turns them against each other. He ruins any chance of them having a relationship. He makes them hate each other and actually, you know, ultimately try to kill each other. So yeah, I mean, there's just, he's one of those guys, father name only. There's nothing parental or paternal about him at all. You know, just everything is about him and what he wants and his drive and his goals, and everything, including his own daughters, are just fodder for that. So yeah, pretty despicable dad.
Yeah, no, this guy, he pillages the galaxy, goes around taking over, and he plucks somebody from the planet, whatever. Oh, hey, now you're my child. And, you know, some of these people are pretty nasty characters that he has for his children. He calls them the Black Order. What great children that is. They're called the Black Order. And then the daughters actually have a little bit of empathy and some heart to them. And their arcs in the movies, the Guardians of the Galaxy, Endgame, his 2 daughters are great. And just like sisters, of course, they band together against old dad, dear old dad. You know, well, dad's bad. Let's band together and you know. But it's a far off galaxy, and it's comic book world, it's sci-fi. So it's this kind of interesting version of a bad dad. Jonathan, you got any thoughts about old Thanos?
Honestly, I was very close to putting him on the list, but that's why we evaluate some of my list. I had to take one out because I already have Darth Vader on my list, which we get to in a few minutes. I have another bad father from the galaxy, so I just keep one of them instead 2. So that's the reason I cut him out there. This is my honorable mention. It's got very close to my list.
But you got any thoughts about him as a bad dad?
Yeah, he's pretty much a horrible hunter. He basically snaps away pretty much out the universe right here and doesn't flinch its sight. And during one of the first snaps, he's like, "Is it worth it?" He said, "Yes." Basically like that. Not a very good person as your father, along with it, even though the structure of the universe. Yeah,
no, absolutely. Okay, so that means we're going to go to my number 4. And like I said, if anybody has this, just say stop, hold on, whatever. This is an interesting one because this guy actually looks like my father. This guy in his prime and my father in his prime, they are almost identical looking. And so to see him as a father of this dysfunctional family, all I could think of is my father. And he's a racist on top of it. I mean, some of the stuff he says is some of the most despicable stuff. Like he treats Danny Glover like an absolutely awful. And that is Royal Tannenbaum. Does anybody happen to have Royal Tannenbaum on their list?
I do not.
Me neither.
This guy is such an awful guy. I mean, his kids hate him, you know, and he gets out and he tries to go around. He tries to pretend like his kids, and my father's the same way. He acts like I'm supposed to be his great son, and he treated us like crap as a father back in the day. And now he wants to be my best friend, call me all the time, come over. And of course, my brothers and sisters, oh, he's dad. You know, you should. Oh, leave me alone. Shut up. This guy is so much familiar. I mean, these kids have been treated like hell. Some of his kids have in the movie. Of course, you got this phenomenal cast. It's a film from Wes Anderson. You know, it's probably one of, if not the darkest Wes Anderson film, because usually Wes Anderson films have like a lightness and a brightness to them. This film is dark. and it really sheds a dark light on fathers and family and the problems that kids can have when they grow up with a bad father and a tough, difficult life. And so Royal Tannenbaum from the Royal Tannenbaum. You got any thoughts on him, Jonathan?
My only say to that because is only the few Wes Anderson films I have not seen, so I can't comment on it.
Kirk, you got any thoughts on good old Royal?
Yeah, I thought about putting him on my list. I mean, everything you said about him is right. The reason I didn't is because when I think about that movie, I think about his, the kind of redemption arc that they give him, and maybe it's possible he does get off a little too easy. But with my list, I kind of stuck with, it's a little bit of a spoiler, but kind of characters who were, either irredeemable or just were never met that point where they realized what they were doing was wrong. But that's what kept him off my list. The fact that at the end, he kind of reconciles with the family and realizes, what was wrong about what he did. There's like, at the end, he's like, talking to Danny Glover, he's like, I know I'm a bastard. So he kind of figures it out. But I mean, like you said, nothing you said about him was wrong. I mean, he's a pretty despicable person through the rest of that movie.
Yeah, and the kids, you could see how his kids grew up and how affected they are by having him as a father. Yeah. Right? And he treats Danny Glover like crap. I mean, the stuff he says to Danny Glover is like, what the heck? And it's in a movie. You're like, wow, how did Wes Anderson get away with putting this in the movie? But that's the character, so you believe it. You believe it as a person watching the movie. All right, so that was my number 4, Royal Tannenbaum. And so far, we've had some real doozies of father figures. Jonathan, what's your number 3? You didn't have a chance to talk about number 4, but we will eventually.
My number 3, I think it was going to be hold up right there. It depends on it. My number 3 is Daniel Plainfield from There Will Be Blood.
As a matter of fact, is this a hold on for Kirk?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
All right, because I have it on my list as well, Kirk. So I told you, Jonathan, beforehand, we might have a little bit of crossover. All right, so that means I feel bad for you, Jonathan, because you can't talk about any of your people. But you're going to get a chance to talk about your guys.
That's all right.
Awesome.
It's going to relax right here.
All right, let's get to Kirk's number 3 now.
Okay, my number 3 is Bradley Whitford as Dean Armitage in Get Out.
Yeah, I do not have him on my list. Jonathan, do you have him?
I do not, actually.
Wow, Get Out didn't even cross my mind as Godfather, Kirk. So go ahead, discuss it. I'm glad you got some that we don't all have the same ones.
Yeah, just because just not only is this guy like a just like an awful racist human being, like just in the general sense, but also the fact of in the movie's almost like two different things. It's you got like the serious like social commentary and the like out there sci-fi horror. The serious social comedy, the guy's like an awful just racist human being. The sci-fi part of it, he's like this mad scientist who like preys on black people, just basically just sacrifices them so people that he cares about can continue on in their lives. Not only that, but he brings up his kids. He takes the next generation and trains them to do the same. Instills them with all his hateful ideology, but also the idea of we're going to continue this. we're going to continue to sacrifice people. We're going to continue to use these people that we think are lesser than us to achieve our own means. And I think it's kind of the point is like I think they're a metaphor for just like a racist family. You've seen that his father passed it all down onto him, and now he's passed on to their kids. It just keeps going on and on. You see that vicious cycle. So that's why I wanted him on the list, just to represent that kind of father and that kind of family. That very specific type of bad person and bad parent.
No, yeah, I mean, as soon as you said it, oh my God, I didn't even think of him. Yeah, he instills in his kids some awful ideologies and the way they treat people in general. Maybe Jonathan might have a little bit more to say about this guy.
Anything what Kirk says is correct. And also, I would say that, which is freaking terrified right here when I first saw the movie in theaters a couple years ago. And all the thing you say is correct. And also, I did not think about him on my list. I just kind of shoot myself. Well, basically kicking myself on not having him on the list. So, good job, Kirk.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't even have him in my honorable mention, Kirk. That's how much I didn't even think about the guy. That was a really good out there pick on your part, because it's so true, the way what he's putting into his kids' minds and stuff, and then instilling and then his father. I mean, oh God, we don't want to get into the whole movie here, but my number 3 is exactly the same number 3 as Jonathan's, but we're gonna have to wait and talk about that a little bit later, because Kirk has that a little bit lower on his list. So let's see if we get one that Jonathan can talk about here. What is your number 2, Jonathan?
Okay, I bet both of you maybe didn't think about putting this person on the list, but I have some more explained why. My number 2 is Ed Wilson, played by Rodney Dangerfield in Natural Born Killers.
Wow. I didn't even think about him. Oh my God. I don't have him on my list, Jonathan, but he didn't even come up in my thought processes. Yeah. Oh my God. Completely different than Rodney Dangerfield has ever, any character he's ever played ever. Kirk, you got him?
I do not.
All right, Jonathan, go ahead.
If you really watch the movie right here, the movie's already batshit insane, it is, but the one thing is the most disturbing parts of the movie right here, not just maybe the murder itself, this is basically what Rodney Dangerfield's character is really not only a horrible person, but a fucked up person right here. Basically, molested his daughter right here in a funny comedy scene, but even some of it is not funny. Even some of them might be intentional. I don't know about that, but it's just really a disgusting human being along with it. He eats loudly. He treats his family like shit. And basically is sort of like, what did you do here? And basically, really a disgusting human being all the way through. And basically taught some obscenities by watching wrestling. And also finally got his comeuppance by making a mouth right here. And I'm kind of glad that guy is bird. Basically, it's just really a disgusting human being right here. That's the reason he's higher up on my list. It was just a really disgusting piece of trash.
Well, that's the thing too, is when you have a bad dad and he gets killed in the movie, you're like, yeah, I'm glad, because that guy deserved it. You know, same thing with Bill and the Kill Bill movies. Like, oh, fine, Beatrice gets revenge on Bill. You got any thoughts on this guy, Kirk?
Yeah, this was to be when I was talking at the top of my list, how I kind of stayed away from like more like serious bad dads. This is one specifically I had in mind because I did consider him. But I mean, if I was doing just like the worst portrayal of an actual like the worst thing a real life father can do in a movie, he probably would have been number 1. But I just kind of went in a different direction. But I mean, Jonathan's totally right, and he belongs on a list like this. He's despicable. He does unspeakable things to his family, and yeah, he does. You definitely feel good when bad things end up happening to him because of all the horrible things he's done to other people.
Yeah, I mean, and it's completely out of the box for Rodney Dangerfield. I mean, you never see Rodney Dangerfield play a character
that's the insane thing about it. It's Rodney Dangerfield. It was like you thinking, whoa. It's like, Jesus.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. All right, so my number 2, what Kirk's number 2? What am I? I'm skipping Kirk here. Kirk's number 2 now.
My number 2 is a very personal pick for me. This is from a movie that I saw when I was a kid. Probably saw it way too young, and it really impacted me, not just in general, but the impact of the father and what the father did and who the father was. It is Jack Nicholson as Jack Torrance in The Shining.
Hold it right there.
Okay.
I have that at number 2 as well, Kirk. And obviously, Jonathan's got it higher than number 2. So you can imagine what his number 1 is. So we're going to have to obviously get to Jack Torrance eventually. So that means it's number 1 time for Jonathan. So Jonathan, since it's your number 1, it's Jack Torrance, obviously.
Yes.
Then we'll go around the horn and get Kirk and me our opinions on Jack Torrance. So just give it a minute, Kirk. Jonathan.
Sure.
Jack Torrance, I know it's your number 1.
Yeah, no play to make Jack dull. All right. And basically Jack Torrance himself is just really, from the very beginning, he's unhinged. He's very unhinged right here. Basically, when he was driving on the road to the hotel, basically, you could tell through his eyes, right? I just want to not only get out of here, but want to murder my family along with him. At first, it was just when his interview process right here, the way he acts right here, is just basically sort of like his twisted mind right here. And then even the stuff before the hotel happens, but then when the stuff happens in the hotel right here, he starts to sort of snap right here. He sort of loses his track right here. It makes you think really abusive things, not only to his wife, but also his son right here. Even before they went back to the hotel, he had some repeat patterns along with it. It is just really a sociopathic person. It basically have trouble with alcohol along with that, but even after Boy tells him right here after the freezer, he just snaps, like basically unhinges, no stop right here. That's the reason he's my number one worst dad, because it's really insane. Not only a horror author basically going to turn into a murder right here, almost killing his family in the process.
No, we're going to get into it here. Kirk, now it's your turn because I knew you had this at number.
Sure. Yeah. Like Jonathan's right. The biggest difference between the movie and the book is in the book, the character Jack Torrance is from the beginning a decent person, and he's kind of brought down by the spirits of the hotel. And like Jonathan said in the movie, there's something already off at the beginning. I think a lot of it has to do with Nicholson's performance in general, but there's already something off. And yeah, the hotel brings it out of him, but you get the feeling it doesn't have to dig too deep. That stuff is already kind of there, just pulling it out. And like I said, for me, this was hard to watch as a kid because you think of a dad as somebody who's supposed to protect. And when you see the dad who is now the attacker, who's trying to kill his kid, when I saw this at a young age, that was really really impacted me. It really sat with me for a long time. And I still, as an adult, I still love this movie. I still get a lot out of it. But those feelings, those very primal feelings I had about it when I was a kid, still always linger when I watch. It's like, no, this is so wrong that he's doing. It's the exact opposite of the way it's supposed to be. So I think that's why I had him so high on my list.
Yeah, no, I agree. I saw this at a very, very young age as well, Kirk. When did it come out? 80?
80, yeah.
Yeah, and there was a lot of great movies in 19. I was 6 years old when I probably saw this at a very young age. And it was the same thing with Raging Bull. Saw that at 6 years old. Empire Strikes Back, saw that. So I saw a lot of traumatic movies at a very young age. But yeah, this guy's taken over by a spirit and he tries to kill his kids. But beforehand, the driving up to the Overlook Hotel and all that stuff, he's kind of like, you look at his wife, his wife is kind of like meek and the way and you think, well, he's got some kind of power over his wife already, and she's not like the most out there wife and stuff. So he's kind of have this control, and then like the spirit that takes him over in the hotel that brings out all the power and all the control. And of course you get some of those famous, here's Johnny, everybody's freaking done memes or whatever you want to call that, of those scenes of some of the most famous scenes from The Shining. But Jack, if you know him from all his other movies, he really has this innate ability to just bring out the most insane and crazy aspects of each character he portrays. And one of the crazier ones he's portrayed is Jack Torrance in The Shining. I mean, if you go back and look at his career, a lot of his performances are like, he gets his Jack Torrance performance and he puts it towards some of his other performances. So that's why a lot of people, he's playing the same character all the time. He's playing Jack Torrance. Well, I disagree with that, but I could see the similarities. It's just, I think it's inside of Jack Nicholson as an actor. He brings out this insane, wacky and craziness in his performances, which to me is what makes him such a great actor, Jack Nicholson. But yeah, Jack Torrance, what a freaking nightmare of a dad. I would hate to have my dad coming after me trying to kill me like this guy did.
Yeah.
Those scenes, some of those scenes were just like, oh my God, I can't believe this is going on right now watching this movie. But yeah, that was Jack Torrance was my number 2, Kirk's number 2, and Jonathan's number 1. So we're going to go to Kirk's number 1 now.
Okay, my number 1, if you're paying attention, you probably realize what it is. It's Daniel Day-Lewis as Daniel Plainview in There Will Be Blood.
Yep, and I got that at number 3. So Jonathan, did you not have Daniel?
Yeah, Jonathan. There's 3.
Oh, you're number 3 as well. That's right. I forgot.
Yeah.
So, John, our number 3, Kirk, go ahead. Have a wax poetic about old Daniel Plainview.
Yeah, this is one of Daniel Day-Lewis is great in this movie, and he's portraying just somebody who's just a complete sociopath, devoid of all, human empathy and emotion, and just that complete drive to, achieve his means and achieve his ends. And, he finds this child, and right away it's, how can I use this to my benefit? What can I do with this child to make me look better and make my goals more achievable. And that's what he does. He brings him and he adopts him, but really it's a whole just a guise to make him look better and to make him appear as somebody that he's not. And he uses this kid from literally birth to build up his business, build up his brand, make himself look better. And then the kid is deafened because of him, because he's handicapped because he just doesn't care. Like, it's not that important to him, his health or well-being. And just all through, when the kid comes back and needs something, he just abandons him and humiliates him. Just one of the most overall despicable people ever in the movie, in a movie ever. And one of the reasons why is because of what a horrible dad he is and how he treats the son he adopted.
Yeah, I mean, adoptive dads, we've seen this a lot in movies where adoptive dads can be really bad, or stepdads. We get some bad stepdads like the dad in Boyhood, and but the worst of the worst is Daniel Plainview. The way he treats his son. I mean, and you got some of these great quotes. How's the quote go about the milkshake, Kirk?
I drink your milkshake.
I drink your milkshake. I drink it up. You're like, really? You're gonna refer to your. I mean that, and then at the end, it's such a, the end of the movie is just like, wow, the way he treats him at the end of the movie. Then the movie ends. I mean, it ends on basically that. How he acts at the very end of the movie and stuff. If you haven't seen There Will Be Blood, it's one of those movies I definitely say see it once. I don't know if I would go back to it too often if you people out there watching.
Yeah.
It's not one of those movies you just revisit a lot. But yeah, Daniel Plainview, he's a despicable dad. He's a bad person. And Daniel Day-Lewis does a great job, just like Jack Nicholson. He does a great job as portraying this awful guy. So you got to give him credit because he's believable as this miserable, awful human being. So that's what he won an Oscar. I believe he won an Oscar for that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So he won 3 Oscars in his career. One of them was for portraying Daniel Plainview, Daniel Day-Lewis. So Jonathan, what thoughts you got about old Daniel Plainview?
I abandoned my boy. I abandoned my child. That's also the quote from that. Just want to add there. Anything you and Kirk said is absolutely true. He is really devoted of human emotions right here. Even after when he abandoned his child, along with that, it would just really result of any humanity from him once and for all. And he's the reason he's such not a good father and just not a good likable person to any people around him. Even people try to at least some good in him, even just nothing there, just point on blank. So, yeah, that's all I can say about that.
And I would just say, in Paul Dano, opposite Daniel Day, I mean, to hold his own opposite this guy, giving this performance is, you got to give a lot of credit to Paul Dano as well, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Dano, I mean, he's got to be like, what the heck have I got myself into here with this? All right, that leads it to me. I'm the last guy on the list who hasn't done his number 1. Jonathan brought it up at his number 4. I don't know how he had it at number 4, and Kirk, I don't think has it on his list at all because he went a different route with his 5. But old Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader himself, was my number 1. Luke, I am your father. No, no, I'm a 6-year-old kid. No, I don't want you, Darth Vader, as my father. I'm not supposed to be Luke Skywalker's father. No, I don't want that. No, then he just decides, I'm going to cut his hand off. And he's lucky that Luke survived. Luke survives. His father's trying to kill him at the end. And of course, Return of the Jedi, he comes around in the end. But it's still, as a 6-year-old kid, this guy is the father of our hero, Luke Skywalker. You're like, no. And then later on, we find out he's the father of Leia, Princess Leia as well, because of the prequels. And, he's an awful guy. Anakin's a bad husband, or I don't know if you would call it that, the way he's been treating Padme Amidala in the previous movies. Not that nice of a guy there. His buddy, Obi-Wan, he treats his buddy bad, Obi-Wan. Darth Vader, one of the greatest movie characters, one of the greatest villains, and one of the greatest worst dads in movie history. Jonathan, you had him at number 4. What are your thoughts?
Basically, kind of like my thing, someone like Thanos, he's basically kind of just wants power throughout the galaxy all the way through. He basically did everything what is necessary for the galaxy and the Empire. Basically, like you said, cut his son's hand, almost killing him in the process of several instances. Basically, contemplating of almost the alleged daughter Leia into carbonite and basically almost threatening to destroy it. Basically, murdering planets right in front of her, along with that. So basically, not a good person right here. Not only as a father, but he's a really evil person in control throughout the galaxy. And that's the reason I had him on my number 4.
And Kirk, you didn't have him on the list because I know you went with a different route with your list. But you got some thoughts about old Darth Vader.
Yeah, I figured someone else would bring Vader up, so I put Thanos on, and I only wanted one, intergalactic conqueror on my list, so I went with Thanos. But yeah, Vader's bad. Another reason I didn't use him is because, like you said, I mean, in the end, he does redeem himself. And when you watch the prequels, you just kind of see how he was just manipulated and corrupted. Palpatine was pulling the strings the whole time, and he didn't even really know up until a certain point that he even had kids, and by that point it was kind of just too late for him. So that's why he didn't make my list. But yeah, I mean he's awful. You say he cuts off his hand, he blows up a planet. Doesn't get much worse than that.
Yeah. All right, people, let's run down our 5s. Jonathan, 5-1 on the worst dads in movies.
My number 5 is the dad from Chicken Little. My number 4 is Darth Vader from Star Wars. My number 3 is Daniel Plainfield from There Will Be Blood. My number 2 is Ed Wilson from Natural Born Killers. And my number 1 is Jack Torrance from The Shining.
And Kirk?
My number 5 was Bill from the Kill Bill movies. My number 4 is Thanos from the MCU. My number 3 is Dean Armitage from Get Out. My number 2 is Jack Torrance from The Shining, and my number 1 is Daniel Plainview from There Will Be Blood.
And my number 5 is Jake LaMotta from Raging Bull. My number 4 is Royal Tenenbaum from the Royal Tenenbaums. Number 3, Daniel Plainview from There Will Be Blood. Number 2, Jack Torrance from The Shining. Number 1, Darth Vader from The Empire Strikes Back. Jonathan, give me some honorable mentions really quick. Not going to really have a whole lot of time to discuss them here, but just some quick honorable mentions.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned some kind of a bad dads. The one of them you just pointed out, and I would agree. The one honorable mention I will have is Danny DeVito's father character from Matilda. That was a pretty terrible dad.
Oh yeah. And
I was gonna say Dwight Henderson, played by Robert De Niro, in That Boy's Life, got very close to making the list. And basically, one, I was a little back and forth on, but I don't think he's maybe asking my dad, but maybe Randy Robertson from The Wrestler. And I was a little contemplating.
Roberts, basically, it's Jake the Snake Roberts, Jonathan. It's they're using a fictionalized story, but it's basically Jake the Snake Roberts' true life story. When you think about the wrestlers, that's Jake the Snake Roberts. Oh my God, he was a bad dad.
And that's all I can think of. I think I'm missing just about one, but that's pretty much it.
Those are great honorable mentions, Jonathan. Kirk, you got some honorable mentions for bad dads?
Yeah. Randy Robinson was probably my number 6, so that's a really good pick. A lot of good bad fathers from comic book movies, but I only want to put one on my list. But Ego from Guardians 2, and Norman Osborn from the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, both pretty bad. And there are a bunch that I want to talk about, but I have to spoil movies that maybe people haven't seen to talk about them, because you don't find out the dad's a bad guy until the end. So I'm going to keep those to myself. If you want to talk about those off the air, somebody else wants to talk about them, let me know.
Yeah. All right. I have obviously Thanos. I said I had Thanos in my arm. Lester Burnham in American Beauty. What a, no pun intended, a beaut of a father he is.
Yeah.
Kill Bill, obviously Bill from Kill Bill. How about stepdads? We don't think about stepdads, but there's a lot of bad stepdads. I brought Vernon Dursley. What a great dad he is. Harry Potter franchise, Vernon Dursley, man. Boy, do I hate him. You just can't stand Vernon Dursley. And he's a stepdad. Who we got here? How about this one? You don't think about this, but because, well, maybe, I don't know. I'm going to say that. If you haven't seen this movie, it came out 45 years ago. So hell with you. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to spoil it. Noah Cross, John Ford in Chinatown.
That is a great pick. I'm mad I missed that.
Yeah.
That is great.
He is, oh my God. I had to rewatch Chinatown for a match recently. And I just, wow, what a nasty, nasty character Noah Cross is. This is one we forget about because of the zaniness of these movies. But how about Dr. Evil? He's a stepdad and a real dad, and he's bad at both. Being a stepdad to Mini-Me and a real dad to Scott. So he's got it going on both ways, and he's not fun. But because of the zaniness of the Austin Power movies, we kind of don't think of Dr. Evil as being such a bad dad. So those are the worst dads in movies as far as the three of us go. You got any bad dads you want to put in the comments if you're watching or whatever? Throw them in there, and I'll see if I can figure out how to post the comments on here. Now we're going to go on a little bit of a lighter note. This is Kirk's idea. Let's do good dads or good fathers last, so we end on a good note. I was going to do the worst fathers last. We will have a laugh, but let's have a uplifting, some good dads here at the end here. Let's get started again with Jonathan. Jonathan, you got some good dads to talk about, buddy. What is your number 5?
I had some great father figures on my list. My number 5 is more of a recent film of the list. My number 5 is Jefferson Davis from Spider-Verse.
Jefferson Davis. Oh, yeah, I forgot all about him. I don't have him on my list, but yeah, you're right. I understand. Kirk, you got the guy from Spider-Verse in there?
I do not.
All
right, well, go ahead, Jonathan.
Basically, this character really surprised me when I first saw Spider-Verse. But to do a great voiceover performance by Brian Tanner Henry, and it really brings sort of an emotional core with Miles throughout the movie, even when he's dropping off from school, and basically said, like, you gotta say it throughout the microcom of the car along with it, and I actually have a good laugh from that. And basically throughout the movie, where actor was Miles's uncle dies, and we're back to his room, and Jefferson just want to check on him and kind of tell what happened without basically opening the door. He kind of tells him right here, and that is one of the best parts throughout the movie. And that's the sort of the best advice that the father can do in real life, doing those situations. So that's the reason he put it on my list along with it. It just really, not only a great voiceover performance by Brian Tyree Henry, but he was a great example of sort of dads for over here. So kids up us around that.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to interrupt. We're going to get your comments, Kirk, on this, but I forgot to mention one of my honorable mentions that I really wanted to mention. I don't know if I know a lot of people didn't see this movie, but I just can't help but say I wanted to mention this guy. His name is Rex from the Glass Castle. This guy is awful. Woody Harrelson, I mean, the stuff that he does in this movie is some of the worst. I mean, the way he treats his kids basically leave him, don't want anything to do with him. The way he treats them, we're gonna make a glass castle. He never does it. They move from house to house all the time. He takes some money to go grocery shopping, and what he ends up doing is going out to bars and getting drunk, and then he comes home beat up, all cut up and stuff. And I'll be honest with you, the guy from the Glass Castle, Rex, really reminded me of my own father. Some of the stuff my father did to me and my brothers and sisters as a kid. I mean, it hit home for me, this guy. And Woody Harrelson was off. I mean, he played this guy so bad. I mean, his kids didn't even want to have anything to do with him by the end of the movie. So I wanted to mention Rex as an honorable mention for worst dads from the Glass Castle. If you haven't seen that movie, it's rough to get through because of him. All right, Kirk, you got any thoughts on Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse? The father, father.
I think it's a really good pick because I like movies where you have a father who's just kind of like they present him that way. He's like the nerdy dad, and he's just kind of there. And then the child, the son or the daughter, kind of finds like a surrogate. In this case, the uncle. And they're like, at first they see them for like how cool they are and how, how free they're living, and they don't have the restrictions of the parents. And then, throughout the story, the child finds out that, the parent, the surrogate parent wasn't really the one they should have been looking at. The real parent, the one that was just there, the rock, was the one that was really there for them the whole time. And I really like that character arc through Spider-Verse. So I think this is a really solid pick.
Yeah, that was one of the better parts of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, in my opinion. And I'm a hot take, I know. I'm not the biggest fan of this movie, but that is one of the better parts, the relationship there between. And as Jonathan said, that stuff at the beginning where he drops him off the school is a surprise. Yeah. You can't help but laugh at that stuff. So let's get into Kirk's number 5.
My number 5 is Dustin Hoffman as Ted Kramer in Kramer versus Kramer.
I have that in my honorable mentions. Oh God, I could go on all day about Kramer versus Kramer, Ted Kramer. Jonathan, do you have it?
No, I have not.
Great. Okay, I'm glad you brought this up so I can discuss it since it's in my honorable mentions.
Sure. Yeah, great performance here from Dustin Hoffman. Great character arc through the story. Ted Kramer starts out as a dad who really is involved much in his kid's life, kind of doing his own thing. He's a career guy. His family's there. But, you kind of get the feeling that he sees them as kind of just being in the way. And he's put in a situation where he has to be the dad. His son has to be the focus. And he steps up to that, where he could have just been, kind of trying to pawn it off or, trying to find a way to get out of it. He embraces it. And, he starts to, he sacrifices everything. I said with the bad dads, it was all about, selfishness. With the good dads, it's about sacrifice. He sacrificed his career, everything, to be with his kid because he realized how that's the most important thing in his life. And like I said, just a powerful, and a lot of times painful performance from Dustin Hoffman. The sight of, the idea of that, he's just starting to really figure out, who his kid is and how important that is to him. And, he's at risk of losing him. And he's doing everything he can to keep him. So I think it's a really great performance, really great dad.
I'll tell you what, you want to talk about a movie that brings out the tear ducts, gets the tear ducts going, is Kramer versus Kramer with 3 phenomenal performances in this movie. The kid, Meryl Streep, and Dustin Hoffman as Ted Kramer. The scene when he realizes he's got to be a father to this kid. He's got to get up. He's got to make breakfast. I want this and I need this. And this is how mom does it, the kid. And then he's trying to do things the way mom does. And then he's got this whole thing. He burns his hand on the pan making eggs in the morning. And it just hits him. It hits him like a ton of bricks that he's going to raise this kid on his own. And he doesn't know how to be a father like that because he had his wife there with him. And it's just, and then trying to hold on to that by the end of the movie, it's just such a powerful, it's why Kramer versus Kramer won Oscars for everybody involved. Best supporting actress, best actor, best picture. It really is a realistic portrayal of a family going through a breakup, or the mother wants to leave and the father having to take care of the son. And the little boy in the movie, you might catch him playing some poker in the World Poker Tour every once in a while if you're a poker fan. But he gives one of the best child performances. He is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I forget the kid's name right now off the top of my head. Kirk, do you remember the kid's name or no?
No, I do not. I'll look it up here.
It's fine. It's fine. It's no big deal. The kid does a great job. But he's been playing some poker in the World Poker Tour. You see him spot him sometimes in the crowd at the poker tour. But yeah, Jonathan, you got thoughts on Ted Kramer from Kramer versus Kramer? Have you seen this movie?
Actually, I have, but it's been a very, very long time I've seen this movie, like a very long time ago. Some of the parts I remembered about the movie is basically both of them arguing along with it. And also some instances, maybe if I watch it again and my son doesn't age well, basically, Hotman's character basically beats around like a Meryl Streep's character along with it. That's how I kind of remember it. Even some stuff because I hadn't watched it a very long time. So that's the reason it didn't pop into my head on my list. So I'll keep it in mind right here if I plan to rewatch it.
Yeah, I usually watch it once a year. It's just one of those movies that I gravitate to. It's just such a great film, you know. All right, so that was your number 5. Kirk.
And the kid's name is Justin Henry.
Justin Henry. This freaking kid is amazing in this movie. I had to mention him. I mean, a lot of times when you have parents and stuff, sometimes you got to look at the kid and see what kind of performance the kid, these child performers. People don't realize how good some of these performances are over the decades. There's some amazing child performances, and he gives a great one. I just had to mention him. But Ted Kramer, God, that egg scene and the cooking scene and breakfast near the beginning of the movie, it just, oh my God, it just hits me like tear ducts coming down. All right, my number 5. Like I said, just say hold on if this is on your list because I won't beat around the bush here. Atticus Finch from To Kill a Mockingbird. Yeah,
Hold off on that one.
I was wondering if someone was going to have that one.
Yeah.
Okay, because I won't even get into it just yet. Jonathan, we're going back to you for your number 4.
My number 4 is Mufasa from The Lion King.
I have Mufasa in my honorable mentions, not on my list. Kirk, do you have Mufasa?
No, he's not on my list.
Okay. So, Jonathan, go ahead, man. I'm glad you got it, man, so we can discuss them.
Okay. The reason why Mufasa is on my list because this is basically sort of an emotion group right here for Simba. Right before he dies, you sort of basically tells him about Pride Rock and about the land right here and basically what needs to be king along with that is sort of the do's and don'ts right here and basically sort of when after he's gone he was basically talked around Simba right here in spirits throughout the entire movie. It's sort of making around a great emotion group right here and not only that but there's a great voiceover work by James Earl Jones along with that. So I think that's the reason he's really a great dad along with that. So that's the reason he makes my list.
Yeah, I'm going to skip over Kirk on this one real quick, Kirk. I'll tell you, want to talk about another movie that brings the tear ducts is The Lion King. I absolutely cry like a baby when that scene where Mufasa gets killed by Scar. Another movie came out 30 years ago, so if you haven't seen it, screw you. I hate to say screw you, but come on, people. If you haven't seen The Lion King, what the hell have you been doing with your life? This is one of the greatest movies of all time. And the things he taught his son before he died are some of the most amazing things. And it helped his son growing up as he grew up and became a father himself down the road. I know Kirk didn't want to put movies where he had to spoil, but if you haven't seen The Lion King, what are you doing watching this show? You have no business watching a show about fathers and movies if you haven't seen The Lion King. This movie is one of the greatest movies of all time. Mufasa is definitely one of the greatest dads of all time. He gives his life for his son. Some people think that it's not fair that Mufasa dies because of his son, but it's Hamlet. If you know anything about Hamlet, then you know where the story is going. But yeah, oh God. And I will tell you, this is a hot take. I absolutely thought the remake was freaking gorgeous. I mean, the voice acting work, fantastic. It's just the fact of the matter is it's shot for shot remake of the original. Even though they tried, it's about the technology and the voice work and that sort of stuff. You can't remake a freaking classic scene for scene and expect people to like it better than the original. I always like to quote John Campea all the time. If you don't like the remake or reboot or rehash or whatever, you always have the original. In this case, yeah, you're goddamn right we have the original, because The Lion King is one of the greatest movies, and I'll watch it maybe once a year just because it's a beautiful. And if you can't sing along with the songs and everything, I mean, whatever. Yeah, so Mufasa, great pick, Jonathan. Kirk, sorry for skipping over you, but I have to get my 2 cents.
That's fine.
So you got any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, he was someone I'm all over mind. I think the only reason why I didn't put him on my list, I think, is because he's out of the movie relatively early, and that relationship is kind of cut off. So I went with something that was a little more hands-on throughout the movie. But no, I think it's a bad pick.
Yeah. All right. So that was Jonathan's number 4. We're gonna go to Kirk's number 4 now.
My number 4 is Lawrence Fishburne as Jason Furious Styles in Boys in the Hood.
In my honorable mentions.
Honorable mentions for Jonathan, okay? Because I did not have this on my list, Kirk. So I discussed another one that I didn't see coming, which is good.
Sure.
We're talking about a lot of different fathers here, so this is good.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think Fishburne's performance was one of the best parts of this movie. I just love the idea of this father who, his son is in a situation, it's not an ideal situation. The world's not going to expect much from him. The world he's living in, the immediate, his culture isn't going to expect much from him, but, he sets a standard and he expects him to live up to that. He sets that high standard of excellence for him. And, he works to educate his son. They show the flashbacks when he's a kid, and he's constantly teaching him and saying, this is how the world works. This is how you need to be. This is what you're going to have to expect. This is what you're going to come up against. And you constantly have to, not only is he educating his child, he's educating the other young people around him, the people in his neighborhood. He's making his world, a very difficult world to live in. He's making that world a better place. By not only by just with his son, but with everybody around him, but just the way he is with his son. He has very close relationships with, a father like that, who's very strict, who's very who's very like, this is the way it is and this is what you have to do. It's very easy for to have a strained relationship with a kid while they're growing up, but he and his son, Cuba Gooding's character, have a very strong relationship. They're very close. He maintains that closeness with them. There's no distance or coldness between them. He's a loving father, so he's just a very he's very much like another father we'll be talking about in a little bit. But yeah, I think he's a great example of fatherhood in general, and really great character in this movie.
Yeah, I was going to say, sometimes we overlook tough love, but tough love can be very beneficial to a child when they have to go off to college and go off in real life and get a job. And having that tough love sometimes can help them develop their own personality and their own life and their own skill set going forward. And absolutely great choice. I'm glad you brought it up, because when I was doing my research, not that I didn't have to do that much research. I mean, I came up with my list so fast. Boys in the Hood Lawrence Fishburne kept on popping up in my research. And I'm like, oh man, I wish I could put this on. You only got 5 spots though, so it was hard. But I'm glad you brought it up, Kirk. You got any thoughts on this one, Jonathan?
You've got very close to making my list, and everything Kirk said is right. He's basically a father that brings you tough love when some situations need it, because it's sort of a similar thing what my dad taught me right here based on around tough love. Basically do some work around the house or help him with the lawn and basically work. My dad's a really plumber, and basically he taught me about some tough love right here throughout years of my life. So I relate to that right here with Lawrence Fishburne's character, and basically it got very close to my list because I'm a little back and forth with some of my choices. It got very close right here. It just really is a hard thing to do.
No, we only have 5 spots, but it's obviously we know it was probably going to be your number 6. So that's obviously it resonated with you a lot, Jonathan. That's fantastic. I'm like I said, you guys know the rules. If somebody's got this on their list, just say, hold on, stop, whatever. Because I have a feeling someone's going to have this on their list. Chris Gardner from The Pursuit of Happiness. Does anybody have good old Will Smith from The Pursuit of Happiness? No?
Honorable mention. Sorry.
Honorable mentions. Wow. Okay. And Kirk, obviously, you don't have it. This, because I'm talking about my own father again. My father literally couldn't keep a job more than a couple of years when I was a kid, maybe a couple months, couple of weeks. He went through so many jobs because he quit jobs. He didn't like the boss, blah, blah, blah. He didn't like he quit off. He didn't think about his kids at home. He's got 4 kids at home. I don't like the boss or whatever. He said something I don't like, so I quit. Well, dude, you need to make money so you can raise your children. This guy, he's forced. He's lost his job. He doesn't have a job. He's walking the streets of San Francisco. He's got a kid with him, trying to raise a kid. And then he gets an opportunity near the end of the movie. I mean, but what he's doing throughout the movie, he's doing for his son. And sometimes fathers have to do things their sons aren't going to realize what they're doing at the time. They're 4, 5, 6 years old, or whatever they're at. And then later on, they understand the reasons why dad is doing the things he's doing. These guys are living in bathrooms. You want to talk about a movie that really, I mean, I thought Will Smith was a legitimate Oscar contender for this role of Chris Gardner in The Pursuit of Happiness. I thought he was phenomenal. And his actual real life son, Jaden Smith, plays his son in the movie. So there's that where the fathers have a little bit bickering back and forth with that's. So there's a reality based as far as that goes. But another one where it's just the tears just come down of this father. You just have so much pride in what this father's going through, or you sadness of what he's going through. But then towards the end of the movie, he gets some good things start happening for him. But he really does everything he can for his son. Jonathan, you got any thoughts?
Yeah. Like I said, it's my honorable mentions. It got very close to me because this movie plays a lot from my school years because pretty much throughout high school, I have a personal finance class and they show this movie right here many other times right here, even outside of personal financing. This movie plays a lot for my high school. So basically, I watched this movie countless amount of times and basically is a very much heartfelt film. It's one of my personal favorite Will Smith performances of his acting, and it's just really great back and forth with him and Jane throughout the movie, and there's really some heartbreaking scenes throughout the film. Basically, on the subway right here, they will almost to nothing right here. It just kind of breaks my heart almost every time I saw it. So it got very close to making my top 5, but that is really a great choice.
Yeah, no, I understand exactly where you're coming from. Kirk, you got any thoughts on this?
I think this is the first movie in both categories on anyone's list that I haven't seen yet.
Whoa!
So,
well,
I seen this one.
Well, I haven't seen like Tannenbaum, so second.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
but
Kirk. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's fine. Yeah, I just haven't seen it yet, but I mean, I'm sure. Like, I've seen bits and pieces of it, so I know the basic story. And I know what he's doing. So if I had seen the movie, I'm sure it would have been at least in contention to make my list.
Yeah, I was shocked because with your criteria going in on this, if you had seen this, I definitely know you would have considered putting this on your list. It's just Will Smith is probably. I don't think Will Smith has been better. He's given some great performances over his career. I don't think he's ever been better playing this real life father, playing a father, and his son's playing his son. It's just so meta, as they say. I don't like to use the word meta, but it's so meta. So Chris Gardner was my number 4. We're going to go back to Jonathan for his number 3.
My number 3 is the Don himself, Vito Corleone for The Godfather.
Wow. And I'm going to tell you, before I go to Kirk, I love this movie so much. You have no idea. And Kirk knows how much I love this movie. Kirk loves it as much as I do. I wanted to put this on the list so bad. I just for the life of me could not find a place for old Vito Corleone, which it just killed me. It just killed me not to put him. He's in my honorable mention. Kirk, do you got him on the list?
No, I'm the same boat as you. Like I was thinking about it, but I just had other examples that were a little better. I thought were a little better, but no, he didn't make it for me.
Yeah. So Jonathan, you're holding the flag for Vito Corleone for Kirk and I, because it's I know it's one of Kirk's favorite films, The Godfather, and it's one of my favorite films. So we're proud of you that you get this in there for us.
All right. The reason why he makes my list, because even though he's basically a mob boss, he basically sort of figured out where family goes first along with that. He kind of relates to some of the people who have jobs in general. If you take the mob aspect out of it, he's basically sort of a father running over a business, and he wants it sort of his family to his children to move on with the business along with it. Because one of the best quotes throughout the movie, it's sort of basically any quote right here, bro. Any people would have fathers in general has been, a man doesn't spend time with his family can never be a real man. That is more relatable right here for any person who has a kid who has a family along with it. And he basically, in some moments, I feel general emotion right here. He never wanted his life of crime for his family along with it, including especially with Michael. And basically with Michael, after sort of rescuing him, sort of the failed assassination attempt at the hospital, he got to sign a tear along with it, basically sort of happy with here to get to save her right here. Basically cares about the family. Even though he might be a mob boss, he genuinely cares about throughout his family along with it, try and make them safe as possibly can. So that's the reason why he makes my list.
Yeah, no. I mean, I cannot argue with putting Vito Corleone on your list at all, because he's in my honorable mentions, and he's one of my favorite movie characters of all time. And I know how much Kirk also loves these films. Kirk, I'm gonna let you go first on this one.
Okay, yeah, it's the thing about Vito. It's tough because if you look at him as just like normal people, you objectively, just from like our criteria, he's not that good a dad. He's a criminal. He's raising his kids to be criminal. But in his world, in his universe, he really is a good dad. Because Jonathan brought up that line, a man who never spends time with his family can never be a real man. And if you watch that scene, that's cut right after, Sonny's up in the upstairs bedroom with the bridesmaid. And and he turns around and he's saying that line. He's talking to Johnny, but he turns and he says that line directly to Sonny. He's communicating that to him, and that kind of you see the difference between Vito and everybody else in that world. He doesn't take the shortcuts everybody does. He doesn't. He's faithful to his family. He's faithful to his wife. He's not like within that world. He's a very honorable and a very moral man even. So yeah, like I said, and you learn even as you watch the second movie and you see his background and where he came from, and you understand his origins and the way his world was created within that framework. Yeah, he's a great person, great husband, great dad.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up Godfather Part 2, because you get to see the background of what he has to come from, and then how he builds a life for his family, and he builds a business, and he creates and people respect him. And then obviously as an adult, people come to him, and the Godfather, can you help us out? And this stuff. And like you said, Jonathan, he didn't want this life for his children. He did this life for his children so they could have a good life. And, obviously the rest of the movies, what happens and so forth. But yeah, Vito Corleone and Marlon Brando, I mean, one of the great movie performances of all time, in my opinion. I put that up there in the top 10 of greatest movie performances of all time. I think he's phenomenal. Of course, we get the scene where he's stroking the cat. The cat just happens to be on the studio walking around. He grabs, hey, come here, cat. He thought it was cool. He starts stroking the cat. Now that's part of movie lore from the rest of history. That was kind of a funny scene, and he puts the thing in his mouth to kind of have like this kind of different accent thing going on there. So that was kind of cool too, that he created this character and he really resonates with a lot of people. So yeah, that's Vito Corleone. That is Jonathan's number 3? Is that your number 3?
Yes. Yes.
So Kirk, we're going to you for your number 3.
Okay, my number 3 is a dark horse out of the box pick, but I'll explain why he's on the list. My number 3 is Darren McGavin as Frank Parker aka the old man from A Christmas Story.
Oh wow! You know what's funny is I didn't have the father from A Christmas Story, but I did have a father from another famous kind of Christmas movie in my honorable mentions, and I was wondering if somebody was going to have Darren McGavin in there. That scene, Kirk. You should see what it looks like from out here. I love that scene. Jonathan, do you have father from Christmas?
No, I did not even think of it, considering him. So, okay, Kirk, explain it.
No, I am going to spoil Christmas Story here, and like you said, Dan, I don't care because you had 35 chances to watch it last Christmas if you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
But the thing this isn't a dad you would think of right off the bat as being a great dad. This is a dad where, throughout the whole movie, he's kind of just that old fashioned dad. He's in his own world. He comes home from work. He reads the paper, mom's taking care of everything. And he's distant. He's almost like otherworldly. He's like, the kids don't understand him. They don't know anything about him. He's just kind of scary. He's there. But the whole time, Ralphie wants that gun, and everybody's shooting him down. His mom shoots him down. His teacher shoots him down. Santa Claus shoots him down. But at the end of the movie, it was Dad who was paying attention the whole time, and it was Dad who knew what he wanted, knew what he needed, and got him. And that scene, I'm actually getting choked up thinking about that. Just that one scene where when he's loading the bullets, like they'll get all over. Like just after that whole movie of him just being in the background, in that moment, that connection, that tenderness there of the two of them, and just like I said, they set it up real subtly in that scene after they go to the mall to beat Santa Claus, and he's like, "Did you tell Santa what you wanted?" And Ralph goes, "No." And Dad goes, "He knows. He always knows." And he's, you see, he's paid for behind that newspaper. He was paying attention closer than anybody that whole time. And not just the fact that he got him his gift, but the whole idea of you'll shoot your eye out, you got to be careful. It was the dad that realized that you got to take some risks in life, and life isn't always about taking the easy way out, taking the safe way out. You got to take some risks, and that's what I love about that character. That's what I love about this movie. And I think it's a great little representation of those dads who may have grown up in a certain era or been raised a certain way, didn't really know how to connect with their kids, but that connection was still there, and that's what I love about this movie and that dad.
No, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, great. I had no idea anybody was going to bring up Darren McGavin, and I absolutely love A Christmas Story, and I think it was a great, like you said, out of the box pick. You got any thoughts on A Christmas Story, Jonathan? Darren McGavin?
The more Kirk explained it, I was like, you know what? I should have considered him this whole time. Everything Kirk said is actually true. He's been sort of been listening this whole time, and basically throughout the beginning of the movie, he basically what he was trying to make sure was like, right here. So we're on the mannerisms, what he does along with that. I did not think about it all the way through. So that's a great choice, Kirk. I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love the movie and I love the character. I mean, I wouldn't. This is so many. I got like 9 honorable mentions. I still didn't have.
Yeah, that's tough.
In my honorable mentions, that's how many great, good dads there are out there. All right, guys, I just want to tell you something, Kirk and Jonathan. I have a particular set of skills. Brian Mills from Taken. Does anybody have Brian Mills on their list?
No.
All right, guys. This is a dad. You don't want to freaking. This is the last dad you want to kidnap his daughter. First of all, you shouldn't be kidnapping people's daughters in the first place. Did you not know whose daughter you were kidnapping? Did you not know this man had a particular set of skills that you do not want to mess with? And I know people, you put Brian Mills on your list. What happened about this other guy in this other movie that had up? Whatever. No, I don't know why. I just love the first Taken. The other one's garbage. The first Taken, Brian Mills, don't mess with a man's children. You don't kidnap someone's children, especially someone with the skill set of Brian Mills. So I had Liam Neeson, Brian Mills as my number 3. Got any thoughts, Jonathan?
Before I say anything else, everything you said is kind of like 19 cuts right here for Kentucky 3. So, okay.
All right.
If you don't know what I'm referencing to, but
yeah,
get it.
Yeah. There you go. Good one, Jonathan. You got any thoughts on old Brian Mills, Kirk? Man with a particular set of skills.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the ultimate wish fulfillment dad. You know, when you're a kid on the playground, it's like, you know, my dad could beat up your dad. Like, this is the dad, you know, as far as that goes, this is the dad we all wanted. And yeah, I love like just how my favorite scene of that movie is when she's under the bed and she's like, Dad, they're here. What do I do? He's like, okay, they're going to take you. Here's what you do. And like, boom, like down to business immediately. And just that idea. And I love those kind of movies. I mean, this isn't really a revenge movie, but like revenge hunt, whatever you call it, when it's just like, okay, when you got a guy like this, he's a man of action. He's down to business, and he's just taking care of business, going through, what you get the next guy, find out next piece of information, move on. And yeah, he wasn't on my list. I don't even know if he really crossed my mind, but now, it is a great pick.
Yeah. I was like, I had to try. I could have put one of this one or another one. I'm sure people think, oh, why did you put this other particular dad? I'm like, well, I don't know why. I just happen to like the way this character is rounded and some of the things this character said that made him a good dad. Particularly the other character, which I'm not going to mention, we'll mention in our honorable. It's not all about being a dad, even though we know he's a dad. This guy, it's all about being a dad, and he protecting his daughter and knowing that he's the father of this girl he's going to rescue and stuff like that. So the father aspect of it comes into it more for me. So that's why I had Brian Mills. I had number 3 from Liam Neeson. All right, let's go back to Jonathan for your number 2.
My number 2, I don't know what you two feel about this character, but the reason I put number 2 is Marlin from Finding Nemo.
Hold on there. Kirk, going on number 2 for Kirk.
Okay. My number 2, Dan, you mentioned you had another character from a Christmas movie in your honorable mentions. I feel this might be the one. My number 2 is Chevy Chase as Clark W. Griswold in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Oh God, you're just making me smile all the way around. These choices are just such great choices. John, you got Clark Griswold from Christmas Vacation on your list.
I did not put Clark Griswold any of the vacation movies on my list. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, I have, like I said, I had him in my honorable mention. Kirk, great choice. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about him.
Yeah, I think this character, I mean, yeah, he is part of the franchise, and you may have been able to put any movie on here, but I think, Christmas Vacation really sums up what I love about him as a dad. For all his dopiness and stupidity and goofiness that, where all the humor comes from in those movies, at his core, he's just a dad who really wants to create something special for his family and for his kids and create those memories. And he goes to all these ridiculous lengths to do that. And, they go out to the middle of the woods to cut down the tree, and, he's hanging up on the ceiling or the roof, putting up those millions of lights. And he screws up a lot, but his heart's always in the right place. His heart and his mind and his goal is always his family. He's working hard to he wants to get them that swimming pool, so they can all be together in the summer. So that's just that love. I mean, there's such a purity of that character, for as dumb as dopey as he is. There's such a purity of that character of just that he's like the ultimate family man, and I really love it. Chevy Chase is so great, and he walks that line between comedy and that like real serious heart to him. I think this is his best role, definitely. And he does it so well. And yeah, he's just such a great dad.
Yeah. I mean, I had him on here for Vacation, not Christmas Vacation on my honorable mentions, but the father taking the family on the vacation. Kirk, yeah. I know this hits you right in the feels.
Oh yeah.
I think you posted a photo of you and your family on vacation or something like that recently.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that's the thing too. It's so relatable, as a dad who maybe doesn't go to those kind of extremes, but who wants to have special things for his family, who wants his kid to have memories. It's so relatable to just have that desire and have, even when it gets getting screwed up for you, to want that for them so bad. And you feel that from that character, how bad he wants that.
Yeah. And that's what's great about those films and that character. He's just so relatable, like you said. Jonathan, you got any thoughts on Clark Griswold?
I'm a little torn on Clark Griswold. Everything you said is true, along with it, and basically, both of you said it was absolutely true with Clark. but also some instances that he might come off as a little half aggressive in some instances, because even, for example, he gets a little bit more frustrated with have some of the situations. Basically, the rant thing, even though it's funny, though, there is some instances of a dad just you don't do. Even at one point, kind of contemplative of, even though he doesn't do it, even cheats on his wife in the first movie along with it. So I'm a little torn. Should I put him in the best idea or the worst idea? Just I'm a little back and forth on it. That's the reason I didn't put him on either of those lists. So I was just a little bit torn in the middle.
Okay, that's interesting that you have that kind of dichotomy there in your mind for Clark as well. Yeah, I mean, look, Kirk's a dad. We've all been around our own dads. Dads get frustrated with their kids, their family, the situation.
Yeah.
If you go in the wrong direction or you're doing something wrong on your vacation, you're like, oh, why can't something go right? Trust me, that's dad material, right? That is perfect dad material, and Kirk could attest to that probably as well as anybody. That's why I wanted to get some dads on here. We got one dad on here. I'm not a dad yet. I'm old enough to be a dad, but I'm not a dad yet. All right, so that was Kirk's number. What was your number 3, Kirk, or 2?
That was my 2.
That was your number 2. All right, so now we're going to go to me and my number 2. Like I said, I don't think anybody's got this character on this because I'm doing the math here of what's left. My number 2 is Daniel Hilliard from Mrs. Doubtfire. Robin Williams from Mrs. Doubtfire. Obviously, I don't think anybody's got this left on their list. Do you have this? You have one spot you could possibly have this, Jonathan. You don't have this, Jonathan?
No, actually.
Okay, so nobody's got Daniel Hilliard. I know what Kirk's number 1 is. Daniel Hilliard, this guy goes, he goes as far as dressing up as a woman and becoming a nanny of his kids because his wife basically throws him out, and he's done some things wrong. But in the end of the movie, he redeems himself. He's a very good dad. We know all along he's a really good dad, and he wants to be a good dad. That's the thing. Sometimes dads get a bad rap where people think of them as, well, you did this wrong and you did that and you said this, but they don't realize sometimes dads are put into difficult situations. They have to do things the wrong way or say the wrong thing. And so he starts out on a bad note, but then starts building himself back up. And he has one of the reasons is he ends up being a nanny and he becomes Mrs. Doubtfire, Robin Williams. And I think this is one of Robin Williams' iconic roles. And I always just love the scene because the ex-wife or the separated wife, she's getting into a relationship with Pierce Brosnan, where Pierce Brosnan plays the boyfriend or whatever. And it's just like this. He takes a lemon and he hits him over the head with the lemon, throws it at him. He's like, it was a runaway fruiting. I just love that scene at the pool, because he knows that's his wife, that's his woman. What is she doing with another man? And of course he's in disguise as Mrs. Doubtfire. But you got any thoughts on Mrs. Doubtfire, Daniel Hilliard, Jonathan?
Is on my honorable mentions. And is around like number 8 or 9.
Okay, all right.
So it was considering, but there are a bunch of more dads. I think they were more relatable along with it than Mr. Hilliard right here. And also it was a breaker choice, so he just barely have made my list all here. So
all right, that's respectable. Kirk, you got any thoughts on Daniel Hilliard, Mrs. Doubtfire?
Yeah, this is one I haven't seen Mrs. Doubtfire since it first came out, so it wasn't really on my radar. But yeah, I mean, it's a great example of just a dad who's willing to do whatever he has to do to be with his kids, and that's always a very honorable and a very positive thing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. All right, so that was my number 2. We're going to Jonathan's number 1 now.
All right, here's my number 1. My number 1 is basically everything what Kirk just mentioned a few seconds ago. Anything would do for his kids. Not only my number 1 does that, but my number 1 not only does it for his kids, but also for an entire city. My number 1 is Martin Brody from Jaws.
Martin Brody from Jaws. Kirk, obviously you don't have that. I know what your number.
I don't have him, no.
All right, and I don't have it either. Jonathan's swimming in the water with a few of his last couple picks here. He's going swimming here. All right, Jonathan, go ahead with Jaws. Martin Brody from Jaws.
The reason why I consider him, and not only that, but consider my number one, because he really sort of an average guy, basically a big city guy, goes to patrol this small city town and Amity Island throughout Martin's Vineyard, and basically he was trying to make everything something mundane right here. Even for the beginning, when we introduce him, he was just sort of like basically controls throughout the situation right here. Basically, protests on right here over the beaches. Even as the beach himself, he was just a casual person, like he's afraid to go in the water. Even had one star at one point. They think there's a couple of drowning right here while he's talking to this old man. And basically, he has a sort of like a more, not say recluse, but sort of like a lucid mindset right here, and basically to do it. And basically, as a father, when throughout the middle part of the movie, he would introduce interaction with his son, and there's no dialogue along with it. It just mimics a line like this. And I think in some instances, myself, my dad do that, do little faces along with it. And when he has tasked to do the job right here, not only to protect his kids, but also protect the city, he basically kind of confronts his fears, trying to go in the water to defeat the giant shark. And basically, great growth right here, and basically great acting performance by Roy Scheider, and basically what he can do of it. That's the reason he's my number one, because he really brings like a more normalcy to the situation, but also kind of downplayed of it along with that. So that's the reason he's number one.
Yeah, Kirk, you got any thought?
I love it. Jonathan brought up that scene, because it's not when people think about it, just that scene where him and his son are like looking at each other, making faces. That's such like a real dad moment. But he is a great dad, and he's looking out for his kids and everything first and foremost. He did cross my mind. The only reason why, again, I think this is kind of like a Mufasa situation. The second, middle of the second act, third act, that the fatherhood part of it kind of fades in the background of the story. So that's why it didn't make my list, but it's still a solid pick.
Yeah, no, I agree with what Kirk said, but also the thing is, it tells you what a dad's willing to do. Mm-hmm. He's afraid of the water, yet he still is going into the water, and he's doing what it needs to do to protect his family, his kids, the people of Amity Island. And sometimes, you have to face your fears. Sometimes as a father, you have to be strong for your family, even though inside you're not that strong, you're weak, because he's afraid of the water. He's afraid of the shark and all this stuff, so sometimes that happens. You have to be a bigger man when you're a father. You can't show weakness in the eyes of your family and your children. So that's a very good choice. Number one. I know what Kirk's number one is, and it was my number 5. So Kirk, this is one of the fathers of all time in my opinion. So go ahead.
Yeah, my number one, I think, is the only right answer for the best father in the history of movies, literature, just about anything. Gregory Peck is Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird. Every time I watch To Kill a Mockingbird, I love it, but I also hate it, because I feel just ashamed of myself and horrible about myself as a father, because of the ridiculous standard he sets in this movie. He's always doing he always knows the right thing to do. He always does the right thing. He always teaches his kids to do the right thing. He always has the right thing to say. I mean, if there's any flaw to this character, is that he's almost too perfect, but there are no flaws. The fact that whenever his kids have trouble, he knows exactly what to tell them to make it better, to make it right, to help them make the situation right. And again, it's another one. Like I said, I referred to this earlier when I was talking about Furious Styles. It's he's a similar father where he's very strict, and he has very rigid guidelines of how they're to be raised, how they're to conduct themselves. But at the same time, these kids love him, and they love being with him, and it's such a close, beautiful relationship. And he does he does that balance that perfectly, where it's discipline and fatherly love, and he just knows how to do it all, like I said, perfectly correct. And and then he lives it, with his defending Tom, and going down to that scene where he goes down to the courthouse. I think that's such a perfect, just microcosm of this entire movie. The town's coming to lynch him. And Atticus well, I got to go protect them. It's Atticus versus the town. And he, and he's going to sit there. He assumes you can tell he thinks he might die doing this, but he knows he has to do because the right thing. And then what happens is kids show up. So you see the results of what he's been teaching them to do the right thing. They show up and do the right thing as well. So yeah, this is just such a beautiful story about family and about children and about being a father, and the fact that he's a single father too. The fact that he's doing this on his own and he's doing it right. I think he's no question best father in movie history.
Yeah, I had him at number 5. So don't chastise me too much, Kirk. But I absolutely, I cannot express myself any better than what you just did. You said so much great stuff about Atticus Fish, the great performance by Gregory Peck, and Sprout. Is her name? Is it Sprout?
Scout.
Say that again. Scout. The daughter is fantastic, and the relationship between the two of them is fantastic. And the other thing too is he's such a great father, and he's going to be a great father to his kids, but he's also has a job to do, and the job is a very, very difficult job, the position that he's being put in. So not only is he in a difficult position as a father because he's got kids he's got to take care of and watch out for and be a father, he's got this job of this man he's protecting, and the whole town probably hates him for it, so he's in such a tough spot, yet Gregory Peck gives a phenomenal performance, says the right things all the time, like you said. Absolutely great. I have somebody else at number 1, so I apologize that I don't have the best possible father in your opinion as my number 1, but I did have him on my list, so you can't fault me too bad for it. So that was my number 5 and Kirk's number 1. We're going to my number 1, which was, I believe, Jonathan's number 2. And I don't know what it is about this movie. I just love the movie. When people talk about Pixar movies, it's my number 1 movie. I just absolutely love the movie. At the beginning of the movie, it's like, don't go on beyond the reef. Don't go there. Don't do this. He's such an overbearing father. Marlin is in Finding Nemo. But then when he has to get into action, he goes into action and he does what he has to do to save his son. And that's what I love about Finding Nemo is it's this guy. He's such a skittish father. He's like always watching out for his son. Don't do this and don't do that. But then when something does happen, where's Nemo? What happened to Nemo? Then he has to go into action and he's like all like beside himself. And then he has to go on this adventure with Dory to go find his son to see what happened to his son. And of course, all the things that he goes through throughout the movie to get his son back is just, it just brings absolute tears to my eyes. And I just cry thinking about it so much because this is the kind of father you want as a child, as a son, as a daughter. If there's someone that will go to the ends of the earth to find you and rescue you and bring you back home because they love you that much. Marlin was my number 1 from Finding Nemo. Jonathan, I know you had, I think it was at your number 2. You got any thoughts about this?
Yes. Everything you say is true about Marlin. He will, at first, he's a bit of a warrior all the time since the death of his wife Coral, and he brings. The thing about Marlin is to bring him an interesting character and also a great character, a great father as a whole. He really kind of brings like a little worrisome to the ocean, but also he kind of learns that not everything is sort of that bad right here, and he sort of stop and think about it, which what's the best for your son, because what is the best for his son is to kind of let go and basically doing things along with it. And I think that's a father thing they should be, because you gotta basically listen to your kids first before you keep overbearing them along with it, and you gotta make sure you got to do it right because everything might go wrong just like that. So I think that's the reason Marlon's my number 2, because he brought in a little bit more protection along with it, a single dad as a whole to make sure to get everything not only in his son together but also keep himself in check at points.
Yeah, absolutely. You hit a nail on the top of the head there, Jonathan. Kirk, you got any thoughts about Marlin from Finding Nemo?
He was in my honorable mentions. He has such a beautiful character arc, and I can relate to it because you do have that instinct as a parent to protect your kids and shield your kids from everything, and that's one of the hardest lessons you have to learn is that it's not possible to do that, and B, that it's not good for them to do that, and that they have to go and be exposed to things that may not be the safest for them, but that's how they're going to live. That's the only way they can live their lives. And like you guys said, the fact that he's, if they were to diagnose him, he probably has PTSD from what happened to him at the beginning of the movie with his wife, and for him to overcome that and go out, it's like, he wants to stay safe, but the minute he has to go put himself in danger to go get his son, he does it. He, every instinct inside of him is probably fighting against that. But again, he's doing it because his son's in danger. He has to go save him. So yeah, he's a great character and he's a great dad.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so Jonathan, 5-1 on best dads.
My number 5 is Jefferson Davis from Spider-Verse. My number 4 is Mufasa from The Lion King. My number 3 is Vito Corleone from The Godfather. My number 2 is Marlin from Finding Nemo. And my number 1 is Barton Brody from Jaws.
All right, Kirk, 5-1.
All right, at 5, I got Ted Kramer from Kramer vs. Kramer. Number 4 is Jason Furious Styles from Boys in the Hood. Number 3 is Frank Parker, the old man from A Christmas Story. Number 2 is Clark W. Griswold from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. And number 1 is Atticus Finch, To Kill a Mockingbird.
And my number 5 is Atticus Finch from To Kill a Mockingbird at number 5. Chris Gardner from Pursuit of Happiness at number 4. Brian Mills from Taken at number 3. Daniel Hilliard from Mrs. Doubtfire at number 2. And Marlin from Finding Nemo at number 1. Jonathan, you got any honorable mentions?
I pick Steve Martin's character from Father of the Bride as an honorable mention of mine.
Good one.
Is Chris Gardner for Pursuit of Happiness is another one. And try to think of something else. Try to think. It's in my head.
That's all right. I mean, that's fine. You don't have to come up with more than a couple. I mean, I got like 9, but that's just that's how I roll. But
wait, I know now.
Okay.
I don't know what you guys feel about Henry Jones Sr. from Last Crusade.
Oh, well,
I thought about him. Yeah,
I thought about him. He's in my honorable mentions, Jonathan. So we thought about him. Good one.
No, good one.
Junior. I love that. All right, Kirk, you got some honorable mentions?
Yeah, as I mentioned, I had Marlin from Finding Nemo in my honorable mentions. Another dad, low key, doesn't get a lot of attention, but Tracy Letts as Larry McPherson. That's Lady Bird's dad from Lady Bird.
Oh, yeah.
Just a great idea of a dad who gets over his own BS and does what he has to do for his kids. I love that character. I relate to him so much. Roberto Benigni in Life is Beautiful. Scott Lang in Ant-Man.
Yeah.
And a movie a lot of people haven't seen this one, but Arnold Schwarzenegger as Wade Vogel in Maggie. It's a movie about his dad. It's a zombie movie where his daughter has been bitten, and they're trying to take her away, and he's trying to save his daughter. And I think that's one of Schwarzenegger's best performances, and he's really
that is rough. That is a rough film to get through. Kirk,
yeah,
Maggie. Very good performance by Schwarzenegger. I absolutely agree. If you haven't seen Maggie, people go look for Maggie.
Yeah.
All right, so I know one person I'm not going to mention names. One person, hot take, is not the biggest fan of this film. But, I mean, when you grew up with this film like I did, and a buddy of mine, his name is Jeremy Adams, and you absolutely love this film. You just can't. I mean, him and I have such a connection over this film. You want to have a cat's dad? John Kinsella from Field of Dreams. I know one person no mention of names on the panel. Ted Kramer, obviously, somebody mentioned that already. Kirk mentioned that. One that no one mentioned, I was surprised. I thought somebody would mention Michael Sullivan from Road to Perdition, Mufasa, Vito Corleone. The other one that is similar to Brian Mills on my list, but it doesn't have the father arc, doesn't have the kind of the thing with the father. It's just kind of more of an action movie. Is John McClane from Die Hard. Obviously, I had Clark Griswold from National Lampoon's Vacation. Mason Sr. from Boyhood. Doesn't start out as the best father, but as the movie progresses, you realize what a great father Mason Sr. is in Boyhood. Obviously, Henry Jones Sr. from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. So those are my honorable mentions. But this has been a extra long episode of Top 5 Weekly, where we did best and worst fathers. I was glad to have both of you guys come on with me, especially Kirk, who is a real dad, who got to talk about worst dads and best dads, which is really kind of meta. Not to bring up the word meta again, but Jonathan, where can you be found?
Excuse me. You can find me around Twitter, Instagram at jetpack1098, for Facebook, Jonathan Peck. I'm in charge of the head of sports division on TMG Entertainment with Sports World. We just have a championship match a couple of weeks back, so go check it out if you're very interested right here. And basically, if you want to start out some of the matches, go watch some of the beginning of Sports World matches. You might see a familiar face right here in one of those matches on the video right here. I'll give you one hint.
Yeah. I was in a match. Don't get me started on. Sometimes I could be a sore loser, Jonathan. So I thought I acted pretty good at the end of that.
Well, don't spoil it for some people who haven't seen it yet. So
yeah, you're right. Kirk, where can you be found?
I'm on Facebook, anywhere like the movie fan league stuff that Dan and Jonathan are on. I'm probably there somewhere in the background too. If you want to talk movies or get movie opinions or give me your movie opinions, look me up on Letterboxd, Kirk Holkowski, Kirk Kowal. I always have fun there.
And you can find me at Dan Skip Allen on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest. Also, I'm a film critic. I write for a website called Disappointment Media. I didn't come up with the name. I just write for them. DISIPPIONT media.com. Where right now there's not a lot of movies out in theaters. I did write my Artemis Fowl review, which, if you want to see a review about a bad movie, go ahead. I've been doing a lot of retrospectives of movies from 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 25 years ago, whatever. So there's a lot of retrospectives I've done. Also, some people have died, and I've been doing some like Brian Dennehy died, did a Rambo review. Irfan Khan died, did a Slumdog Millionaire review. Ian Holm just died, so I'm going to be doing a movie review for him. Just to remember, so people can remember these people's movies. Also I do called Bleacher Features, where it's myself and a guest. We talk about a sports movie. It's going to be actually episode 1's going to be today. I'm going to be releasing episode 1. It's a summer series. So if you like sports movies and you want to talk about a particular one with me, just reach out to me, message me, and ask me if you're interested. Both of these guys, I got episodes coming up next year, actually, for both of these guys. We're going to be doing episodes with both of these two guys next year. I already got all this year's episodes pretty much in the can. So I'm going to reach out to you guys next year for episodes. So for Jonathan and Kirk, hey, everybody have a good Father's Day.
Fathers, everybody.
If you don't have nothing to do and you want to watch some movies, here's a lot of good movies about some good fathers and some bad fathers. So if you want to be reminded what it's like to be a good father or a bad father, hey, we just gave you a whole bunch of movies to watch. So, hey, everybody have a good weekend.